Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I am Dave Clark here with Operation Liberty for Kentucky and America with C.Wesley Morgan Candidate for the U.S. Senate seat in 2020. Wesley, welcome back. Good to have you.
Thank you, Dave. I appreciate it. I have to admit that last Sunday, I guess I had got back later that afternoon, but that was an enjoyable time in the Caribbean. The weather was perfect. We went on the Royal Caribbean Harmony, which was actually run into some people from Kentucky on it that come up to me and said, "Aren't you Wesley Morgan?" I said, "Yeah." They go, and they were Republicans, and they sent me all their information so they could help us out in Louisville.
Wow, that's great. That's awesome. I want to start out the broadcast, Wesley, and I know you do as well. Wanted Veterans Day coming up tomorrow, and I just wanted to say a big thank you to all the veterans that have given the ultimate sacrifice to their families and to all the ones that have served and all the ones that are now serving. This country would not be where it is today and enjoy the freedoms that we enjoy without our veterans and their families. So thank you for your service, and I pray that God will continue to bless you and God bless America.
The veterans are very dear to my heart, David. My uncle Carl Day from Clay County, he was with Patton in the Third Army and went all the way. He was in the Rangers, United States Rangers, wow, and Army Rangers at that time. And he was with Patton. He went all the way across Germany, and they liberated, I believe it was Buchenwald, the death camp. He had pictures, and it was atrocious. He just said, "I want to show you how bad it could be, how bad man can treat man." And my uncle John M. Morgan, he was on the one of the ships at the Battle of Okinawa, and the sea there around Japan and Okinawa, where they had all those kamikazes and stuff. And so I come from a long line of family that's been patriots. I believe the only, I think we got another one now, but Willie Sandon from Leslie County was the recipient of the Medal of Honor in World War I.
Oh, wow.
He was only, in fact, they just interned him, brought his body back to this new Veterans Memorial that they put in Leslie County around the Hyden, and brought he and his wife back and interned them there. And this has been very recently. The only person who was more highly decorated than Willie Sandon from Wesley County was Sergeant Alvin York from Tennessee. And I'm sure you've heard of Sergeant York.
Absolutely.
But our family, and of course, mountain people, and Kentuckians they've always stepped up and done their part in any war we've ever been in. It's a shame that we have politicians that puts us in wars that we have no business being in, and we have a lot of our really brave men and women who die for causes that really there's really not a good cause to it. It's just pitiful.
Wesley, it's an absolute crying shame that our politicians, a lot of them, I don't know why anybody would want a career politician in office. Do you? Does that make any sense to you?
I don't. People have some kind of I call it incumbentitis. That somehow people look upon politicians the same way they look upon, like Johnny Bench or Pete Rose or a movie star or something like that. Someone who has an image that a lot of people know, and that really should not be what they're looking at. They should be looking at who is doing, who is representing the people's interest and not their interest.
I agree.
And it's easy to do that if you were just look at what was it Harry Truman said? Show me a rich politician and I'll show you a crook. That's what Harry Truman said. So there's a lot of truth to it, because if you don't do things that makes you a multi-millionaire, when you go like let's talk McConnell. When McConnell went to the United States Senate in January of 1985, he had a net worth of less than $1 million. Now he has a net worth. Some people have approximated to be around $60 million. Now I know people say, well, most of that came from Elaine Chao, but Lane Chow her family's in the shipping business, an international shipping business that is regulated by the federal government. Now, it's no better time in the world if you're making a lot of money in the shipping business, especially between Red China and the United States. There's no better person to have than the Senate Majority Leader protecting your interest in that shipping business. So, and supposedly her family just give them $54 million for no reason, which there has to be a reason. It's because their shipping business has been protected.
It would be nice to see politicians stand up for the people of America.
They're never going to do it until the people decide that it's not a beauty contest anymore. It don't have to be some, nice looking, gorgeous man or woman. It has to be just some common individual, someone who's going to say, I'm going to go up there and I'm going to do what's right and I'm going to uphold the Constitution. And that's all you need. But it's a beauty contest, and I've never understood. Well, obviously, it can't be much of a beauty contest with Mitch McConnell, but but at the same time, that's what it becomes. And the only person that I've ever witnessed in the 69 years of my life, other than back when I was a boy, where I really thought JFK was something, is Donald Trump. He's the only person I've ever seen in all the years. Even Ronald Reagan, which I loved Ronald Reagan, respected him immensely, but he was manipulated by George H. Bush and James Baker. So he really didn't get hardly anything of what he wanted to do because the Republican Party forced George H. Bush down his throat to be his running mate. And basically, Bush, he suggested James Baker to be the chief of staff. And let me tell you, the way you control a president or a governor is you put a chief of staff that isolates him and has him doing only what it is that chief of staff wants him to do. And that's what happened to Ronald Reagan.
Hmm.
Now,
I'm afraid to say you're right, that Ronald Reagan's probably the last great people's president for the most part until Donald Trump. And
I've been criticized because I said it's going to end up being that Donald Trump is probably going to be the greatest president ever in the history of America. And people go, Lord, have mercy! How could you say that? How can you say that with George Washington and Abraham Lincoln and JFK and Ronald Reagan? I said, well, it's simple. If this man does what I think he's going to do, and he's doing it, even though that he has taken more abuse than any person that I have ever seen being in public office, and the sedition and the behind the scenes trying to undermine him and everything that he's doing, the sedition and the treason. And I'm going to tell you, there are going to be people charged with sedition and treason, mark my words on it. What I'm telling you, you can say Wes is stupid and he don't know what he's talking about right now, but I'll guarantee you there's going to be people that's going to come down when they open up that FISA, the Horowitz brings up his FISA report, and when Durham does his indictments, you're going to see a lot of people go to prison or be executed for treason or sedition, and because it is that bad, and I'm pretty confident that that's going to happen. I would like to tell you about what's happened this week, though, since I got back last Sunday.
Sure.
And I apologize. I'm so tired. I was going to watch you and Ellen, and I went and laid down and fell asleep, and I didn't wake up to the next day, and I did watch it that next morning, and I do appreciate you and Ellen taking time out of your own schedules and to cover that, and I certainly appreciate that. But when I got back, of course, immediately we had the election on Tuesday. Yeah. And then after the election, of course, we had President Trump come in on that Monday. I got back on the 3rd. We had President Trump in Lexington on the 4th. We had the election on the 5th. I spoke to the Montgomery County GOP Thursday night, and I got real lucky. It just happened to show up to speak to them, and it was potluck night. So they brought in a bunch of food.
You lucked with that, then, didn't you?
Yeah, I really got lucky, and they said, well, you're real lucky tonight coming in because they And they had some, they had all kinds of food, but I ate a couple of bowls of chili. It was really, really good. And I made my presentation in front of the Montgomery County GOP and outlined Mitch McConnell's voting record and what's going on and what all the things that he has done to stifle their constitutional rights. And I believe that I walked out of there the majority, if not all, of those people on their side for to be supporting us for the United States Senate seat. And then on Friday night, between 5:30 and 6 o'clock, we were invited to be interviewed on a radio station called Southern Sense. It's out of South Carolina, but it's a national broadcast.
Okay.
And we did I thought we done a really good job on that, and basically talk about McConnell. And they have some really high-powered guests on that radio show. Trump's personal, what do you call it, evangelist or I guess minister or whatever, the woman, what's her name? Do you know her name? I can't remember off the top of my head. She's going to be on it next week. White. White. Her last name's White. But anyway, she's going to be on that show that I was on Friday night. She's going to be on next Friday.
Great. Awesome. Good deal. I saw something today. Did you see where the U.S. unemployment rate hits a 50-year low of 3.5%, which is the lowest since 1969?
Well, the man is doing an awesome job, and how could anyone try to undermine him with what he's doing? And these are people, these are traitors that are trying to get him out of the office, and it's not going to work. They already know. In fact, you do know why that they won't bring the whistleblower on board now, don't you? I found out why.
Why?
Because if he's going to be mentioned in the Horwich report. He has something to do with the FISA violations that's occurred when they were getting the surveillance, the illegal surveillance that they did with FISA, and in fact, he has made a offer to come and testify on behalf of the president, and the president's holding all the cards, and they told him they need him, they would see him in court.
Wow.
There's all kinds of things going on that if you're not privy to inside information, you're just thinking all this bad stuff's going on. What's Trump? What's his demeanor? You think he's worried about this impeachment?
He doesn't seem to be.
No, he's not worried about it. But Trump is so brilliant. This guy knows everything's going on because he has the military intelligence behind him, the military intelligence. And don't forget, FISA goes both ways. I would say there's been a lot of them that's been under surveillance for the last 2.5 years. And it's not telling what all they got on them, but I'm telling you that I'm forecasting that they will arrest a lot of people. And I also heard that James Comey has flipped now too.
Really?
Yep.
I wouldn't be surprised. Folks, like, share us on Facebook. Go to morganforsenate2020.com. Comment, fill out a form to support us. Make phone calls, put up yard signs, have us come speak places. Wesley is available to come speak to your group. And any comments tonight? Anybody wants to ask Wesley a question, he is available. So just
let me say this. Some of my very good supporters out there, and I've got a lot of them. Man, we need fundraisers. We need some of y'all to volunteer and have a fundraiser for us, and invite people in your community, whether it's Nicholasville or Georgetown or Lexington or Bowling Green or wherever,
Pikeville Hazard, anywhere.
Anywhere. We need fundraisers. We don't have the luxury of being all these big corporations and stuff that Mitch has got. It's just giving millions and millions of dollars. But do you really want me to take money from all those people? Do you really want me to be obligated to them? Well, when we go to Washington, D.C., we will be obligated to the people of Kentucky. I don't want to be obligated to all the Kentucky Chamber of Commerce or the other businesses or whatever, it just blows my mind. So we have to depend on the people providing the funds that's necessary to run this campaign. And it don't matter where hopefully we raise money. The more money you raise, the more things you can do, and the more professional staff you can have that helps you get elected. And if we have that, then we got a better chance. But I'm in this all the way. It doesn't matter what happens. I mean it all the way. I know that the very minute after election on November the 5th, on the 7th, we started getting attacked by McConnell trolls on Facebook, saying everything in the world about us, and we started identifying a lot of my supporters on there too, was saying, "Hey, you're nothing but a troll." I mean, they were saying things like that I was almost indicted, and I used my office to keep from being indicted, and that's just absolute bull. Never been indicted in my life. Never even come close to being indicted. But they just make this stuff up, and what they're trying to do, they're trying to ever who's on there, listening and watching, they're trying to make them think that there's no chance. We had a guy come on and he said, "Well, you don't have a chance. You're only polling so much, in these counties and all that stuff." And I said, "Well, why are you on here worried about me for? If I don't have a chance, why am I such a concern for you? I mean, why have you decided to come on here and start telling all the people that's on this, on this posting feed, that I don't have no chance? If I don't have no chance, why are you trying to do that for? Well, he finally ended up apologizing and leaving. But he was caught up because that's what he was. He was McConnell troll. That's what he was. They do every rotten thing you can think of in politics.
Right.
And their whole goal. And remember this, people. They have to. McConnell. He has a horrible background. If you look at him, you do research on him, you will find that he should be gone immediately, and them to try to act like I'm some kind of a bad person. I haven't done anything my whole life other than work for the federal government, work for myself, and try to make a living. And I've already got character assassinated when I went to Frankfurt. And they're going to try to character assassinate me again, and you can depend on it. That's going to happen because they have learned in order to turn the Christian vote against you, they have to make you look like you're immoral somehow, so the Christians won't vote for you.
Don Haney says, "Will Mitch McConnell get caught up in his corrupt dealing if he allows President Trump impeachment hearing?"
Well, I've always said that McConnell will throw the president under the bus at any time.
You have.
But I'm going to tell you, recently I've kind of changed my tune on this. Not that McConnell won't throw him under the bus. I don't think the president really is too worried about him. I believe the president probably has so much information on him that I'm not particularly. I don't think that he necessarily is worried about any of it. Watch his demeanor. He certainly doesn't appear to me to be concerned at all. So I think the president knows a whole lot more than he's letting on that he knows.
Let's see, and this is true. Mr. Edwards says, "After the election, people started behaving very nastily. I'm going to make it so that they are shamed for their behavior."
Well, Virgil, the op-ed you wrote and posted is directly on point, and that prognostication was given back in, I believe, June of this year. That everything in that op-ed about how that McConnell was using Bevin to split the party, and that that his whole modus operandi was to split the party and to disenfranchise conservative voters. And that's exactly, the people are just hounding the conservatives to death, claiming they defeated Bevin. And I've had some discussions with some of my own supporters that they don't like the conservatives anymore, and the conservatives is trying to explain to them that they got done wrong by Bevin. So I said, look, I'm not. I need both sides. I'm not taking up for either side. I'm just saying that I don't see. I think they both have an issue, but
well, I think. Look, I'm for the principles that you and I have discussed. That's why I changed from a Democrat to Republican. But I'm going to be honest. You can't treat people, in my opinion, the way Bevin did. He was in the when he left the conservatives after he got into the governor's mansion, as you well know, and have talked to a lot of people, and so have I. They felt like Bevin really left the conservative party, hung them out to dry, and he just became kind of an arrogant. And I saw it on Facebook the other day. You can't be a dick and expect to get elected to public office. And
whether I win or lose, I'm going to tell the truth. And the truth is he did. The truth is he did. He did throw the conservatives under the bus. That's a fact.
Yeah.
He did do it. And they can blame the conservatives if they want to for his defeat, but he should have never done it. And why he did it, I don't know. Now, that's the God's truth. If you don't want to vote for me because I tell you the truth, then don't vote for me.
Well, but Bevin, you can't treat people the way Bevin treated people, in my opinion. Bevin beat himself. It wasn't the Democrats that beat Bevin. I'm sorry, but if you have talked to, as you well know, Ellen is a part of the campaign process here in Madison County, and she said the obvious voting is they would vote for Bashir, and then they would vote. The rest would be Republican, and you see that in the outcome of the election. It's a whole.
If you look at Virgil Everidge's op-ed that he posted in June, that was the exact forecast that he made.
Yeah.
That McConnell was worried about putting Cameron in, his hand-picked attorney general. He was worried about putting Michael Adams in, his hand-picked attorney general. But he demanded that Janine Hampton come off the ticket, which made the conservatives mad and split the party. And there was no reason to do that.
Right.
Why would anyone who is running for re-election in an office want to alienate any Republican voter?
It's true.
It makes no sense. Makes absolutely no sense.
Mark Davis says, hello, Wes. Although McConnell has a multi-billionaire machine rolling on, it seems that he is only worried about the leftist McGrath. I don't.
Well, I'll say what I said on Facebook, and thank you, Mark. But I'll say what I said on Facebook the other day. Ronald McDonald on the ballot in Kentucky against Mitch McConnell would get 40% of the vote. Ronald McDonald or Mickey Mouse. You can put Mickey Mouse on there too. Either one of them. Ronald McDonald, Mickey Mouse, Burger King boy, whatever. What the Frisch's boy. Any of them could be on the ballot and get 40% of the vote. That's how hated that McConnell is. If you don't believe me, go on Ditch Fund, DITCHFUND. Look at the ads that are being put out right now by Ditch Fund, and they're getting a lot of money, and they're doing commercials. You should see this last commercial they posted about the Colombian man standing there with showing the ship that belongs to Elaine Chao that they found the cocaine on, and they was loading it up with coal, taking coal from Colombia to China, and now Colombia is selling 2.5 times more coal than us. And that's
they're not for Kentucky at all.
No.
Is really have a question, but at some point McConnell and the Republican Party have to recognize you, and they will, folks, if you stand up and start liking and sharing us and getting the word out there. Thanks, Mark. You're absolutely right. At some point they will.
Well, what they're doing, Mark, this is what they're doing. They're trying to keep our name recognition away. They're hoping that we will give up and drop out. That's what their hope is. And that's the reason why we're having these trolls telling people, on our Facebook posts and stuff, he don't have a chance. He's only polling 4%, or he's only doing this or doing that. I haven't seen a poll, but I did see a poll today that it was 56% disapprove across the board on McConnell. I did see that. And it's a 56 approval for Trump and a 56 disapproval for McConnell. And the president, I will say this about the president. I actually felt sorry for him standing there on the stage at Rupp Arena, trying to promote someone who a lot of the people were just not for. They just wouldn't.
Yeah.
And now I didn't hear him promote McConnell other than he said McConnell's a powerful man. He did say that, but I don't think that the president is for McConnell at all, in my opinion. But he has to play this game because of this impeachment stuff that's going on, and the president's real good for things like that. I mean, just look how he trapped McConnell on the red flag laws. The president just act like he was for red flag. Boy, and McConnell jumped out and jumped right on that. And boy, he was ready to make up some red flag legislation in the Senate. And then the president said, "Oh, I'm not for that anymore." It just left McConnell hanging out on a limb. And it's hilarious.
Don Haney asked, "What's the chance President Trump will support you if crooked Mitch McConnell throws him to the Democrats?"
Well, what we need to do is let's like tonight, this show. Share it, like it. The more that happens, the more it goes out, the more our recognition rating goes up. And if we can get to a certain point, the president will come on our side. The president's not for Mitch McConnell. I can tell you that right now. There's no way he is.
Yeah, if we can get these shows to go viral, folks, with your help. This is a grassroots campaign, and if you want change in Washington, it's time to put somebody in there who will actually change it.
And that doesn't cost you anything. That doesn't cost you one dime to like and share. If you would go on right now on your phone or on your computer, and every group that you're a member of on your Facebook, hit share. Every person share. The more likes and shares, the more this show gets out, the more our message gets out. In fact, the lady, Annie Ubilis, I believe, her name on Southern Sense, she said, "Wesley," she said, "you have a very, very good web page. Very good web page." She said, "I'm very impressed." And she said, and your positions on your web page, there is no doubt you're a very conservative constitutionalist. And she said, I hope that all the success that you can possibly have up there and taking out one of the most ruthless men in the United States.
Virgil Edwards, sorry, Virgil. This election for 2020 is just not even really underway yet. The media is already trying to write the narrative.
That's correct, Virgil. And that's the reason why McConnell's trolls are coming on and trying to get us to drop out, because they know the race is just now starting. Mm-hmm. You know, people never did get their focus off of they've been governor and attorney general and the secretary of state, and all those people have been running, and they've been going around to all the GOP counties and stuff like that to talk to people and go to rallies and things like that. And so now they're going to focus on this Senate race. They're going to start focusing on it big time. And you're right. Mark Davis was right. They will recognize this at a certain point. We do need help, though, with money, because we need to buy a couple of tents. So my sister says if they will go to all these shows and stuff and be there and hand out literature and stuff, but we need a couple of tents that says, C.Wesley Morgan for United States Senate on them. And that's going to cost a couple $1,000s. And, the same is true with our yard signs. We're having all kinds of requests for yard signs. And in fact, I got to take some Tuesday. I talked to the GOP in Jefferson County on Tuesday night. And then they were having an event in Nelson County that I'm going to go to Tuesday. And Clint Hardy asked that I bring him a couple of yard signs for his house. Clint Hardy is the person who's the head of Take Back Kentucky. So, we're making all kinds of strides. That it's been, I'll admit it has been slow. We had some issues with getting our name and stuff out in the first 4 months. And we had some problems, and we're starting to do a much, much better job on it now.
Miss Stone says WesleyMorganForSenate.com. Please go there and
That
check.
should be, oh, is that something new?
Well,
Oh,
we
yeah.
have Wesley
Oh,
Morgan
I know
for
what it
Senate
is. Yeah, it's
2020,
that new one.
and
Yeah. You got
that's
it.
yeah.
Okay.
Either one, WesleyMorganForSenate.com, WesleyMorganForSenate2020.com. Either one will get you to
No,
the same.
that's Morgan for Senate 2020.com to go to our webpage.
That's right.
But does that take us to our webpage too, Dave? I
Yep.
don't know. Okay.
Yep, absolutely. Both of them will get us there. John Mullins asked Wesley to talk about vote harvesting.
Vote harvesting.
Never heard of that before.
I don't think I have either. John, could you just give us a brief something to get us started?
John, I haven't heard that. Would love for you to comment as to exactly what that is. I've not ever heard that term before. Mark Davis says, Wes, as I too. He's referring back to his other. He believes that, back to his other message, Wesley, that at some point the Republican Party will have to recognize you, is what I think he was saying.
Yeah, I think there's no doubt that that's going to happen. And you know, some of the TV stations have already told me that they were going to come to us as soon as this election was over. So I expect, well, what we're going to do, as I spoke to you today about it, Dave. You know, we have to file now. We've been filed with the FEC and been sort of you know, raising money and we haven't raised much, but we've been doing a lot of prep work. Since that we filed with the FEC on May the 16th.
Websites and all those things take time.
Believe me, it has took a long time. And I know, Dave, boy, if you and some of the people you brought over hadn't helped us come in and helped us, we'd be in bad shape. But you know how bad this has been, especially when we got kind of set back 4 months and we had to start reinventing the wheel again. But we're looking to get to rolling now. And if these people bring us on, what I was talking about though is we're going to make an announcement and we have to actually file for the seat. And we're going to do that, and we'll call a press conference at the Capitol, and we'll go in and file our paperwork, and then we'll come out to a press conference and we'll explain why we're running.
Yeah, we'd love to have all of you there. You know, Virgil Edwards, Don Haney, Mark Davis.
Yeah, everyone, especially every one of the people that's interested in county chairs and all that stuff that we've been recruiting here for the last few months, and we've got a lot of people across the state that it's on our side, and we'll be sending out emails and stuff like that to coordinate it. Once we get a date set that we're going to actually do the filing, then we'll let everyone know when to be to Frankfurt, the ones that can be there. And then to promote that and through the news media.
Mark Davis says, sorry, he was getting used to his iPad with his question. But what he went on to say, Wes, as I told you, my job is taking me temporary to Ohio. How can I get a yard sign?
Let's see. I've got one that I can let you have. I just need to get it to you. I don't plan on, if you and David to get me a speaking engagement set up with the Jessamine County GOP, I'll bring you one.
There you go, Mark. Get us a meeting with them, Jessamine.
Yeah, you and David Adams are supposed to do that. They're supposed to be co-chairs for Jessamine County. So
okay. Here's what Steve Smallwood said: ballot harvesting is the collecting and submitting of absentee or mail-in voter ballots by volunteers or workers. It occurs in some areas of the U.S. where voting by mail is common, but is illegal in some other states. Arizona banned the practice except for family members and caregivers. Well, I think Arizona's right. They need to ban that, Wesley.
Stevie, is that legal in the state of Kentucky?
I don't know. That's a very good question.
Yeah, I'd like to know if that's legal in Kentucky, because if it is, we probably do need to change it, because I don't like that. I don't like that at all. We're out here and because what you're going to do, if you're harvesting these ballots, you're probably going to vote those people, and we don't want you vote them. We want them to vote themselves.
Right, exactly. I'm not going to put it on the screen, Jack, just so you know, because I think you're on the wrong channel. He posted to put up hashtag Team Mitch. You're on the wrong channel, pal.
That's trolls. That's all they do. Why we're not on Mitch's.
Right. We don't care what Mitch is having to say because
Well,
we're
what is Jack worried about us for?
I don't know. We're nobody. You're nobody, Wesley, right?
Nobody. Why are you worried about us? We don't have a chance. Why would you care?
Allen, sorry, says it's not legal in Kentucky. That's very interesting, Alan. It probably, in my opinion, should be. Wesley, I don't know about you, but that's my opinion.
Well, some people's going to disagree with me on this, but I do believe that there may have been some voting irregularities in this past election, and I believe if the governor's given the chance to go look into it, that he may strike some fertile ground. But that's up to the governor, and that's up to the Republican Party of Kentucky and stuff to whether or not they want to do that. But especially if it's true that some of those precincts in Louisville had 100% voting with 0 Bevin votes. If that's true, I just don't see how that happens.
It says except for family. If family wants to vote for someone that's in that situation, I think that's fine. But volunteer workers, no. I totally disagree with that. That should be illegal.
The thing that, and again, I know people's feelings are hurt, and they'll probably get mad at me for saying this, but I won't say it again. This was all predicted. Everything was predicted. And, if the governor would have left Janine Hampton alone and just apologized for some of the comments that he's made, I believe most people would have forgiven him.
Yeah.
But he wouldn't do that. But I think he listened to McConnell. You got to remember that McConnell helped take out Fletcher in 2003. He made a deal with Steve Beshear then, and he's most likely made a deal with Steve Beshear this time.
Ask Attorney Fletcher.
How can you get all of those? How can you have the Attorney General and the Secretary of State, who are both handpicked Mitch McConnell people? How can you get them having 100,000 votes more than the governor? I just don't see how it happens. So I think there's problems there, and I believe you'll find that Senator McConnell, he played exactly the way that, like I said, that Virgil had in the op-ed, that the whole thing was orchestrated to demoralize the conservatives so that Mitch can come out now and go, well, you can't elect Wesley Morgan. He's too conservative. He's too right-wing. He can't win the general election. When the truth of the matter is, Mitch, you can't win the general election. That's a fact. You can't do it because people are sick of you. They don't want you anymore. You need to retire and go take your millions and go relax somewhere and get out of everybody's lives. That's
Virgil
what you
Edwards says party loyalists are acting like party loyalists. And then he goes on to say,
I'm a Republican, but I'm a conservative first. I'm a conservative. But I'm a Republican. And people can act like I'm not a Republican. I voted nothing but Republican all my life. I've been a Republican. But for people to try to act that, I had one person on Facebook just the other day ask me, so, well, let me ask you a question. Will you commit that you will vote for McConnell if you lose the primary? And I said, well, let me ask you a question. I've never voted for a Democrat senator in my life. Did McConnell help put Doug Jones in Alabama in the seat? I think he did, didn't he? Isn't that a Democrat? So I would ask him, if I get elected, will McConnell and his bunch support me? My answer is, I bet he won't.
I bet he won't. Stephen Smallwood says Bevin didn't want to run for re-election. He was hoping for a cabinet position in Trump administration. Well,
Steve, I think he shot his goods on that one, because I believe that this loss has probably done him in. I suggested back that he shouldn't run, that he should take an appointment back and never even run for re-election. But nobody pays much attention to me. I'm just some old kook conservative out there. That's why they try to make us all look, Dave. You know that, right?
That's exactly right. Yeah.
Anyone who's a constitutionalist, anyone who's trying to break up the cabal, anyone who's doing that, we're all kooks. I just read something tonight where the CIA has got like 12 psychologists that are going to come out tomorrow and say that Donald Trump is deranged. He's mentally deranged, and he needs to be removed from the presidency because they've been observing him from a distance, and he's not mentally fit to be president of the United States.
They amaze me, some of the crap they keep coming up with. Frankie King says, Wesley, he wants to know, what do you think about Bibles in schools and prayers?
Well, Frankie, if you go back and check my record, I co-sponsored the bill that put Bibles back into schools in the 2017 session of the Kentucky General Assembly. D.L. Johnson was the primary sponsor of that bill. I co-sponsored it with him. We passed it, and now you can teach the Bible as like it's a history course in school. You can do it now. We passed that in 2017. So obviously, I'm for it.
Thanks, Frankie, for the question. And that's what's wrong with the schools today. We need to put the Bibles back in, which, Wesley, thank you for doing that.
I think we need to put the paddle back in, too. We need to put the paddle, but needs to go back in, too.
I agree. Yeah, it didn't hurt any of us, did it, Wesley?
No, it did not. And I could tell you right now, I got my share of them.
I had enough. My mom always says, well, you turned out all right, didn't you? And I said, well, she said, I had 3 children. And
you don't know everything, Dave.
Do
She don't know it. She doesn't know everything.
I tell you what, I'm surprised as I get older, my mom and dad get a lot smarter, Wesley. So.
Oh, my Lord, isn't that's so true. And, I watch my kids make the mistakes that I made. I don't know why when you were young, you think you were so smart.
I don't either.
And you're not. And they will tell you that, just like I told my dad before he died. I said, you never told me anything anything in my life that didn't turn out to be correct. Nothing. But I was too stupid to understand it and value it. And if I listened to that, I'd have a whole lot less problems.
You're not alone in that, my friend. Well, I don't know why we have to learn things the hard way. Linda Allen says hi, Wesley.
That picture you see there, Dave, is my beautiful my little sister died.
Is that your sister that passed away of cancer?
Yeah, it is.
Sorry to hear that, buddy.
Yeah.
I don't get me started. We need to eradicate that. I don't understand after billions of dollars spent. Well, I do. Wesley, it's because healthcare is owned by the pharmaceuticals and the health insurance companies.
Yeah, and I was reading something the other day that in I believe Australia they found something that completely eradicates cancer, and I hope it comes out. I just hated it. It was too late for my sister Tammy. She was my baby sister, so that's been a really, really hard lick to take. I'll be honest. But anyway,
I'm sorry. I wouldn't wish that on anybody. I know what it's like to lose somebody, and then to lose them to such a terrible, terrible, debilitating disease. It's awful. Yeah. Blaine Anderson asked, do you support term limits? And then he has a convention of states question, I guess. And
I absolutely do support term limits. I would co-sponsor or sponsor a bill on term limits. I always say that I'm an automatic term limit because I'll be 70 years old when I go to Washington, D.C. 70 years old. Now, would you wish that on your worst enemy to go to Washington, D.C. at 70 years old? But I am willing to take the sacrifice to help my state and my family and the great people of Kentucky that to get the representation that they need to get our federal government back in line with the Constitution. And people ask me, Dave, they'll say, all right, we know what you're against. What are you for? And I guess they want me to say, okay, I'm going to put, I'm obviously for cheap health insurance. I'd like to have some myself. But I'm going to put the Constitution back in play in our federal government. I'm going to restore your constitutional rights. I'm going to stand there and fight for them. That's what I'm going to do for you. Now, there's going to be a lot of good stuff that comes along with that,
right?
Like health care, like protecting your Second Amendment. A lot of laws that's passed right now with guns is illegal, in my opinion. That look at Washington D.C. You can't even possess a firearm, and they've been told by the Supreme Court how many times. You know who runs Washington D.C.? Congress. Congress could change that in a heartbeat, but they don't. because they allow unconstitutional laws to stand.
Well, Wesley, look at New York, Chicago, and Washington, D.C. have the strictest gun laws in the country, yet they have the highest crime rates.
Let me finish that.
Did I not tell you that gun control doesn't work?
Well, all you're going to do is just have where people cannot defend themselves or their family.
That's right.
And, that is not good. But the Convention of States, Blaine, I believe it was Blaine, wasn't it? Convention of States.
Yeah, I'll put it back up.
Obviously, I think that's the last resort. And the thing that I have against the Convention of States in Article 5 of the Constitution is it doesn't define, the subject matter. If you can limit the subject matter, and it's also controlled by the legislatures. So I'm not sure that we really want to put a bunch of elected officials that we have now into a convention of changing. I'm telling you, the first thing they'll go will be the Second Amendment.
Yeah.
They will absolutely throw the Second Amendment out the door if you have a constitutional convention. And I'm telling you, we went over this not long ago.
You and I are worried that would go unchecked, and that's the biggest concern.
Yeah, that's the problem with that. Not that I don't think it's probably eventually it's going to take it if we don't get term limits and we don't get some change in Washington D.C. It's going to take it.
Yeah. Mary Ellen says Israeli scientists have made strides in cancer research and treatment too. I'm going to add to that a little, Wesley. I have noticed, and I think you have too, and I don't mean to cut on marijuana or hemp, but I'm going to. There are a lot of things, Wesley, that are researched outside of this country. Israel is a big one. You mentioned, was it Australia?
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of research that goes on around the world that for some reason our own FDA won't recognize, even though you have this growing list of scientists that have proven these things. And I think, I want to know what your thoughts are, that they basically try to keep it out to support the drug companies so they can continue to sell pharmaceuticals to Americans that are highly overpriced and are ineffective.
Well, I mean, who does McConnell get most of his donations from? The pharmaceutical industry. Who's he protecting? The pharmaceutical industry. Now, and the reason, obviously, the markup on what they're doing on those drugs is unbelievable. I mean, you might have a drug that costs you 5 cents, and they're selling it for $500.
Chemotherapy drugs are absolutely ridiculous. I don't.
My sister Tammy, the one that died, it was costing her like $12,000 a week.
Are you serious?
$12,000 a week for the cancer treatment that they were giving her. I don't, some kind of chemo, but I'm not exactly sure what kind it was.
So these pharmaceutical companies are just basically getting absolutely filthy rich. They're fleecing Americans.
I swear, Dave, and I know you've heard me say this before. This is a fact, people. Listen at me. Whatever the government controls is corrupt. It is. It's corrupt.
Yeah.
I don't care where it's pharmaceuticals or it's alcohol or it's whatever that the government controls. It controls it for a very few people to become multimillionaires who in turn around and make these big, large contributions to these political. It goes around the circle. They fleece in America, fleecing the common people of every dime they've got. And then they take that money and let the rich make more money. And then the rich donates all this money to these politicians. And we don't have a chance. The common person doesn't have a chance.
It's almost like we've gone backwards the last 10 years, isn't it, Wesley?
Well, I know we have in the state of Kentucky. I mean, we just went back to, a Democrat governor. Yeah. And, you know what kind of battle it took us to get Matt Bevin elected in 2015. And we're right back to the conservatives are right back to where they started 10 years ago.
Well, I heard a lot of people say, and I know you were gone a few weeks before the election, but I heard a lot of people say, I'm voting for all the other Republicans, but I cannot vote for Matt Bevin.
I heard it too, Dave, before I left.
Yeah.
And there was a lot of people that, but I'm telling you, they were errors that didn't need to happen.
Yeah.
Those errors did not need to happen, and they did, and they've cost themselves. It's only helping one person. It's helping Mitch McConnell. That's the only person it's helping.
I heard somebody say the other day, just because they didn't vote for Bevin did not mean it was not a vote for Trump, that they would still vote for the president.
Oh, there's no question. And again, I said when the show first got started, I literally felt sorry for President Trump standing up on that stage trying to convince, and you could tell by the ovation or the clapping, the amount of clapping, that when he would try to sell him to us, there was only about a third of the people clapping.
Blaine comes back in, Wesley, and I know we can't hardly see this, so I'm going to show that Blaine asked the question. Then I will read it so it doesn't take up the whole screen. 38 states need to ratify anything that comes out of a convention of states. There is no way that would pass, even if this was passed at a convention of states gathering. The resolution passed by 15 states to date calls for 3 areas of discussion, including term limits, balanced budget, and returning more power back to the states. So I think maybe, Wesley, is what Blaine's saying here, that 38 states have to all vote before anything is decided?
Well, in order to ratify it, but that's the same way with the Constitution. The only thing you're circumventing by having an Article 5 convention is you're just leaving Congress out of it. The normal course of a constitutional amendment starts with Congress. It's passed in the House. It's passed in the Senate by, I believe, 2/3. And then it has to be signed by the president. Then it goes to the states, and it's got to be ratified by 38 states. That's how you normally do a constitutional amendment. Article 5 allows you to bypass Congress and do a convention that goes to the states to be ratified. But the problem with what Blaine is saying, and I agree with what you're saying, Blaine, except one thing. The Constitution doesn't say you can limit that topic. So what I'm saying to you is this. You could have that, and then let's say that Wesley Morgan doesn't like, well, I won't use me because I'm a big Second Amendment guy, but let's say some person, some liberal, wants to do away with Second Amendment. So they go to a federal court judge, a United States district judge, who happens to be an Obama appointee or someone, and they go, they have they got a convention going on, and they won't allow me to propose a repeal of the Second Amendment. And the judge rules, well, the Constitution doesn't say he can't do that. So you're going to have to listen to his amendment to repeal the Second Amendment.
But even though they had to listen to him, Wesley, wouldn't they have to ratify it, though?
They still have to ratify it. That's correct.
Okay.
But not the people ratifying it. It's the legislatures. You'd have to have 38 state legislatures ratify it.
Okay.
I'm for it, Blaine, if we can do it in a way that we do not make it worse than it is. I'm for it.
Guys, we've got about 8 minutes left. Sorry. Please feel free to comment or ask a question to Mr. Wesley Morgan. Please like or share us on Facebook, and go to Wesley Morgan for Senate.com or Morgan for Senate2020.com. Either one of them will get you there. Please like or share us on Facebook, Twitter. There's so many things out there now, Wesley, I can't even keep up with it all. Like us on YouTube. Share our videos on YouTube as well.
Yeah, don't forget that this show now, every time we do this show, it automatically goes and gets posted. I think that's right in today. It gets posted to YouTube.
Yeah, it's actually live on our YouTube channel at the same time that it's live on our Facebook.
So you can take and share that YouTube. You can share this all day long. You can also share it on our Facebook page. But that's what everyone needs to do. Share. We got a lot of good supporters across the state. You would be surprised. McConnell would be surprised. I guess I ought to be quiet because I don't want to know too much. Because
don't know too much.
Yeah, a lot of them start attacking me right off the bat. And I expect they're going to attack me before it's over.
Blaine Anderson says exit polls showed that 15% of Republicans voted for Bashir, yet then voted for most of the rest of the Republican slate. This was not a pro-Bashir vote, but an anti-Bevin vote. I'd say that's pretty much dead on, Blaine. I have to agree with that, Wesley, wouldn't you?
Yeah, I'd have to say that was, yep, bad as you hate it, but it is what it is.
It is.
But you know what? I mean, I know you can defend the governor, and I have nothing personal against the governor, but he said a lot of things he didn't need to say. I was there during the pension crisis, and I voted against the pension they came. I told you about this before, and they were protesting and stuff in the Capitol. I think the process got hijacked by the KEA. The KEA was more concerned about electing Democrats to public office than they were actually fixing the pension, because that basically they gave them everything they wanted in the pension bill that they called the sewage bill.
Mm-hmm.
And now the process was corrupt. I mean, well, not corrupt, but they didn't have to go through that process. You didn't have to take a sewage bill and change it. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
That's how it got that negative content. It could have been a lot cleaner and not been. I don't know. Sometimes these people, and listen, I was shocked when I went to the Kentucky General Assembly. There's a lot of people up there passing laws don't know what the hell they're doing. That's an absolute fact. They're not. If you don't know the Constitution, you don't know history, you don't know any of that stuff. You're sitting. We got people up there sitting on tax policy that ain't even accountant. They don't even know anything about tax policy. So you got to have some kind of frame of reference, some kind of knowledge in your head to pass laws. We got
people have the knowledge to know you don't know about those things, and bring in people that do to help craft the laws that would be correct and treat. You know what I'm saying, Wesley? It's not maybe about, you may not be the smartest person in the room, but have the integrity to find smarter people that do.
Well, it's just like Danny Bentley, the representative from Greenup County. He was going to propose a bill on something to do with pharmacies. And I looked at him and I said, look, Danny, I don't know anything about pharmacies. You're going to have to lead that pack, but you're going to have to explain to me, show me what it is that why you're wanting to do what you want to do.
Right.
And what that does for us. I said, because I can't sit in judgment of some kind of a pharmacy law if I don't know anything about pharmacy. So, and that's, I was criticized. I was actually trying to fix some bad situations in the alcohol industry. And of course they use that as a weapon against me. But only people that are in the industry for 30, 40 years, they know where all the bodies are buried. They know where the problems are.
Right.
And you try to fix it. But, people are so disingenuous if they're trying to do what Nancy Pelosi describes as a wrap-up smear. That's what they did to me. Please, people, go to Facebook, go to Google and Google Nancy Pelosi and a wrap-up smear. And it tells you exactly. And if you do that, and then you follow some of the things that happened to me in the General Assembly, you will see exactly what it is. It fits it to the T.
Well, they do it all the time. I'm going to give one last question here from Virgil Edwards. In 2015, Bevin won the governor's race with 52% of the vote, even though there were 3 people in the race. The third party candidate got over 30,000 votes. That was more than John Hicks got. It's not Kentucky that changed. Well,
again, and I know people don't want me to say much, but it's the truth. The governors who changed. I knew the governor well, and I've got people who are saying things about me or saying things to me. They didn't travel in the car and campaign with Governor Bevin the way I did. They didn't take Governor Bevin to Buckhorn to meet Pat Wooten, the only elected Republican sheriff in Prairie County in its history. I did. So, I know what's going on, and some of these people who are blinded to the fact, a lot of these people who are raising such Cain really wasn't for him to begin with. You know, we won by 83 votes in the primary.
Exactly. Well, folks, it's that time again. We're at the top of the hour. Wesley, final thoughts on Veterans Day coming up?
Well, again, you know, I have my family has a long history in protecting this country. Uh, that's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to protect this country and protect our Constitution. I'm a man that will be 70 years old really, really soon next year, and uh, my life is almost over. But I would like to see. I'd like to go out with it being as free as it was when I came in, and it certainly is not. And my kids, my children, and your all's children. I want to see them free to try to strive and reach the highest goals that they can reach without being limited by somebody preventing them from attaining the goals that they want. I don't want to be born into a country that we had a speaker at Montgomery County the other night was a man from I think he was born in Amsterdam, and I think he was half Iranian and half French, I think. And he owns a bunch of companies. He lives over in Mount Sterling. Got involved with the family over there, and he got up and spoke before I did. And when I got up and I said, "Man, how do you follow that?" When this guy was standing there just praising this country from one end to the other about how great it is and how we need to quit apologizing that we are the greatest country on this earth. And people like a strong America. We need to re-engage. We need to be strong for us. And because we are, just think about how many times this country has kept this whole world from going into complete anarchy. I mean, without the United States in World War II, we'd all be giving the Nazi salute. And the left they're really the true Nazis and communists, and they try to act like it. The people who are trying to save this nation are the communists and the Nazis, and absolutely not true. But all praise needs to be given to all of our veterans. I did not go to the military. I was going to college during the Vietnam War, and to be quite honest with you, there was a lot of us that had a 2S deferment that kept us from being inducted into the military, and it really didn't want to go because I didn't want to go to Vietnam and fight over there. Now, I've asked some of the guys that I've known that went, and I said, what do you think about, how do you feel about your Vietnam experience? This is exactly what they said. They said, I would never want to do it again, but I wouldn't take $1 million from my experience. Mm. So, these people, especially if you're not fighting for something that matters.
Yeah.
And when you're defending, it's like those 100 militia guys from Henderson, Kentucky, that was called upon to go to New Orleans and fight beside of Andrew Jackson when the British was invading us at New Orleans. You didn't have to kick those guys in the butt. They went voluntarily, just like our military does right now. Our military goes voluntarily into this fight, and they're absolutely patriots, and I salute them and stand side by side with them and our law enforcement. And I am sick the way our law enforcement is treated. They do a job every single day that can you imagine if we disbanded our law enforcement like some of these idiots want us to do? I don't know if you could survive this world.
Wesley, I'd like to thank all the patriots and all the heroes who have served this country, and that includes not only our soldiers, but our first responders, our EMTs and paramedics, our firefighters, our police officers, and especially our soldiers, whose families give the ultimate sacrifice to be away from their families to represent our country. And I will say some of the past presidents have put our soldiers in harm's way for political gain. Right. Which I think is atrocious.
I do.
And I think our veterans deserve our very best. If a government is to do a few things and do them well, Wesley, it is to protect this country and to protect the laws and to protect our borders above and the freedoms of the Constitution that give each and every person that come to this country. I watch a show on TV because I really enjoy it. It's called Madam Secretary. I don't know if you've ever watched it or not, with T.A. Leone. And a recent show that I saw was there was probably 30 people in a room that were taking the oath of citizenship to this country. And to see people from all walks of life and from all countries denounce their allegiance to their homeland and to come here to start a new life legally, Wesley, not illegally, but legally, is an absolutely beautiful thing to see and to hear.
Well, it's like it's like that man said the other night at Mount Sterling. He said, "You don't see them knocking the doors down to get out of this country, do you?"
And that's right. Yeah. We still, thanks to our veterans and to the Constitution and our forefathers and all the great presidents, not just Donald Trump, who have come before him, and that includes George Washington, that have fought for the ideals and beliefs of this country. I wish you a very happy and safe Veterans Day, and I pray that you will go and visit the families and the memorials around this country, and that you will thank a veteran for the fact that you can walk around and you have the right to free speech, Wesley, because they paid the price.
They did, David. I concur with your statements in its entirety. Yeah, I'm absolutely proud of every veteran that we have. I just think it's a shame the way that this country has treated them in the last 10, 15, 20 years. It's atrocious. And I can assure all of you veterans out there, it will never, ever happen with me, maybe over my dead body. But I will stand if I have to shut that place down before that I will see the veterans of this country treated the way they're treated now, or before a president. The president is 100% for the veterans.
Wesley, welcome back home. And folks, we will be back next Sunday night at 9 o'clock. Again, please like or share us on Facebook. I'm Dave Clark with C.Wesley Morgan.
Let me make one more statement, Dave. Anybody out there that would like to help us with their social media and help us that knows about Twitter and about Facebook and this platform we're on now called StreamYard and things like that, we need technical assistance if anybody is capable or knows about these things. I'm 70 years old. I think I was 45 or 50 time I even had a cell phone. So, I'm not that versed in all this social media stuff, but I do know that it's a very good thing, and you can reach out and talk to a lot of people through social media that you normally years ago could never have gotten to.
Absolutely. Wesley, thank you all. We'll see you back next week at 9 o'clock here on the Operation Liberty for Kentucky. With America, I'm Dave Clark with candidate for Republican U.S. Senate seat, Wesley Morgan. Have a great week, guys, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you.